Hello, fabulous entrepreneurship listeners. Today's podcast is productivity hacks for today's women entrepreneurs. And I'm so happy to have our guest today, Maria Visan. So welcome to our show, Maria.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you, Elaine.
Yeah, me too. We met at a networking event and we clicked right away because we're both from the manufacturing sector. So it's going to be an interesting conversation that we're going to have today. So before we get started, Maria, could you tell the listeners a little bit about your journey?
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Ponce, Puerto Rico. I lived there till I was 10 when our family moved to Massachusetts. So living in the States was really great for us. It was kind of a time to have different opportunities. And I took full advantage of those. I went to school at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, which was really great. And
Mm-hmm.
after graduating, I spent about 15 years just kind of exploring different manufacturing environments. I love manufacturing. I studied industrial engineering, so it was a perfect way to get me into manufacturing. I've done anything from defense systems to footwear to doors to printing. And throughout that, it's taken me to different places. I was living in Tennessee, working for a door manufacturing company when I met my now husband. And it's how I ended up in Canada, in Burlington, Ontario. We met kind of just before COVID hit, and it threw us for a whirlwind of a relationship, that's for sure. And it had a little bit of, trying to figure out, well, what are you going to do now? And I made the decision to move to Burlington and start, the immigration process and all that. And it was through that, having to not be able to work and leave everything behind. Plus, it was COVID, so I couldn't really go anywhere, couldn't do anything. It gave me a lot of time to self-reflect and figure out, what do you really want to do? And when I was able to go back to work, I had a little bit of a change in priorities. I was now a wife, a stepmom to two teenage boys, and that has really become my priority. I want to be present. I want to be there to enjoy what I have left, before the boys go away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of drove me into starting my own productivity business and becoming a consultant and a coach, so that I had that time, that flexibility, that even if I'm busy but I'm home, that I can be present. And that's why I'm here now.
Well, that's fantastic, Maria, because as a small business grows, you need to be very aware of productivity because that's how you're going to have a successful, profitable business. If you've got your productivity right, you've got your pricing right. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So let's start out by what does productivity mean for an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. So productivity is just the measure of how effectively somebody utilizes their resources, their time, and their resources and their time to achieve their desired outcomes, right? So it's not about working faster, working more. It's really about what you're doing in the time that you are working. It actually is about achieving more with less effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some misconceptions that people have, again, is that more is better, is that if you're trying to work longer hours, that you're trying to stay more busy, that you're working full out and not taking any breaks, that means that you're being productive. And it's not. It's really about understanding what it is that your priorities are for that day, making sure that you're working on those set priorities, including taking breaks in those priorities, because self-care is so important to
Mm-hmm.
productivity, right? So making sure that you are making time for yourself, to help you have the energy and the balance that you need. So that's a big one that people think, well, I got to run around, stay busy. No, you got to work on the right things. You want to know what's important for that day. And then another thing is that productivity, people think that it's all just time management. And that is one aspect of it, but it all starts with having a clear vision and goals. Once you have your clear vision and your goals, then you're able to start prioritizing what you have to do. And again, there's all that tied in with the self-care and managing your energy levels, right? So it's making sure that you're taking care of yourself internally so that externally you can perform better.
Yeah.
So then also this one I think is where we as women really struggle is we think that we have to say yes to everything. Um,
Yeah.
that anything that's asked of us, whether it's at home or at work, that we just have to say yes, that we want to take more on, especially when you're starting your business.
Hmm.
Um, but it's really knowing, again, it's tying back to what are your goals and your objectives? What are you really working towards? And those are the things that you're saying yes to. That's how you're managing your time, is to focus on those things that are adding value and contributing to your goals. So find those little menial tasks and try to delegate those to somebody else, try to offsource those to somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing about productivity is that people think that what works for me might work for you, but we're different people. You know, some
Hmm.
people like to wake up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. and can get a lot done in the morning
Yeah.
because they're more productive in the morning, but that's not everyone.
No.
Some people do better at night. I work better in the morning, so I like to get up and I get more done in the morning, but I want to be in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
No, I understand that. Yeah.
yeah, so for
Yeah.
me to be working till midnight, it doesn't work. So you just have to really understand what works for you. You know, get educated on what different tools and strategies there are, work with a productivity expert, and they help you figure out what tools and strategies better fit your situation and your personality.
Yeah, that's right. So, what are your thoughts about the key challenges that women entrepreneurs face when it comes to managing their productivity, other than just saying yes to everything? And how can they overcome these?
Absolutely. So for the first one, I mean, I live this every day. It's the whole work-life balance, right? Everybody throws that out there, but it's so true, and especially with women entrepreneurs trying to start your business. And there's so many different situations. Some people are still working a full-time job while trying to run a new, like their own
Hmm.
business and have a half family at home. Um, so it's every day. Every day you're faced with what am I going to work on first? And again, and you're going to hear me say this over and over again, it really starts with understanding what your goals are and what you should be working towards, right?
Yeah.
It's knowing what is important in that time and focusing just on that. And talking about focusing, that's another area where I think, women entrepreneurs struggle is in focus. How do I stay focused on one task? Especially most of us work from home. And I'm always like, I could work on this, or maybe I can just do a load of laundry, or I could go prep dinner. But again, staying focused, it's easier once you know what your goals are and what your priorities are.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's a good idea to time block. After I've spent an hour doing XYZ for my business, then I will put the laundry on, or then I'll prep dinner. But
Exactly. So there's a few things you can do. You can time block. You can also do the Pomodoro technique when you're trying to stay focused, which is just working in chunks. So
mhm,
you can say, you know what? I'm going to work 30 minutes on this task. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. And in that 10-minute break, do whatever you want to do. But then I'm going to come back and I'm going to work another 30 minutes. And you can schedule your day that way too to help you stay focused on those tasks throughout the day. And when we're talking about prioritizing too, a lot of the times we have so many different tasks we're trying to work on, and there are tools that help us organize our tasks so that we know what to work on first, right? So it's tied to your goals, but also within the day, you can look at saying, okay, what's urgent and important that I have to go do right now? What are some things that are important but not so urgent that I could just schedule them to do later in the week or in a couple weeks? You can talk about what's not important but urgent that maybe I can just delegate. And there's always going to be things that can go on the back burner that you don't need to even focus on right now. So
mhm.
there's always a good approach too to help you organize and see how can I prioritize my tasks for the day.
Yeah, and if you're working full time and you're starting your business as a side gig, I think you have to be very realistic about your expectations for your side gig. Like, you in the time expectations, 'cause it's going to take you longer because you have a shorter amount of time. So in that case, you have to really focus on what's important and time
Exactly.
block that, right? And don't set up unrealistic expectations for yourself, because you'll be very disappointed and give up if
Absolutely.
you think that you're going to, have your product launched in, say, 3 months, when realistically it could be 6 months or a year if you're working full time.
Absolutely. And something that might help with that is to do a data study of your day. So
Mm-hmm.
track your day for 2 to 3 days and see what you do throughout the day to understand what your capacity actually is. And
Mm-hmm.
once you know what your capacity actually is, then you can use that information to block the rest of your schedule,
Yeah.
right? To say, I know that I have this amount of free time because I've done it. I've done the study. So that's one tool that can help really understand current state and how you're really working and what availability you do have for time.
Yeah, because if it's your side gig, you may only be able to give it like 5 to 10 hours a week. If you have other family commitments and you've got commute time and you've got, long hours in your regular gig.
Exactly.
So you have to sort of weigh the time available for advancing your company, with the expectations and the goals that you have for that company.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
really, as an entrepreneur, you're setting your own time limit. So to set an unrealistic one, you're only fooling yourself, really.
Exactly. And there's a lot that comes with being an entrepreneur and starting a business. And
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to know when you should work on what, because there's so many, there's marketing, there's
Mm-hmm.
sales, there's
Mm-hmm.
just the general researching, there's the
Yeah.
skill development part of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are having a product and building a product, there's the product development side. So
Yeah.
there's so many different aspects. Um, one approach that I took in the beginning when I was trying to get just going was I had set days that were for different things. I had one day that I focused on all research. I had another day that was just for training. And then a kind of an execution. I had 2 days for execution of getting things done. And that really helped me to not jump around too much in my
Yeah.
head, and have a place for everything.
Yeah. That's very, very good advice. So we talked about goal setting. It's crucial for success. How can women entrepreneurs set meaningful goals and stay focused on achieving them?
So I think the biggest thing is a lot of the times, and I've asked some women to, what are your goals for your business? And it's we're able to talk it, but it feels like it's almost like in our heads, right? Like we know it, we have it up there, but you have to get it visual, you have to get it written.
Mm-hmm.
So once you get it out there, it becomes realistic. And to do that, understand or try to think about what is your vision? What does the end look like for you? What are your long-term aspirations, right? So start by clearly defining what is that vision, what is your dream? And I know for myself, sometimes I get very stuck on the terminology is not right or it doesn't sound pretty. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how you did either. If you like writing on a notebook or you like typing, I love Post-its. So I did my whole goal setting process with Post-its. But start with your vision. And once you have your vision, then you can say, okay, what are my goals? Meaning, what do I have to do to make this vision a reality? And you can start big picture. That's okay. And again, I do a post-it process. So I put everything on a post-it that would be something that contributes to what that vision would be. You can then take that a step further and say, okay, so this is one goal. So for example, a goal is that I want to get clients, I want to grow my business. So how are you going to grow your business? Okay, break it down further. I have to get clients. Break that further. But what does that mean? What does it mean to get clients? Okay, so create a measurable goal that says, I'm going to call or I'm going to call 5 people per week, and reach out to 5 people on LinkedIn per week. That's a goal. I'm going to attend 3 networking events during the month. And that becomes a goal. So it gives you actions that you can do that are tying all the way up to what your vision is of becoming the productivity expert and a consultant and a coach. So make it visual, define your vision, define your goals, break down your goals to something that's manageable and that become tasks. And then it goes back to the prioritization, right? So what am I working on today? And again, we talked a little bit about, using the Eisenhower matrix, which is just what am I going to do now? What can I schedule? What can I delegate? What can go away? So use that method. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, what has to be done today? And one could just be done tomorrow and break it down that way. And then really it's just about, and I find that when you're an entrepreneur, you have to stay flexible
Yeah.
and you can have a plan and you can have your goals, you can have your metrics, but sometimes that changes.
Hmm.
um, and that's okay. So go back to it. You should be revisiting your goals
Yeah.
frequently. They're gonna change. Things happen. Just in my own journey, I started with wanting to do career coaching, and now I'm at productivity consulting and coaching. It grows, it changes, it shifts. You
Yeah.
got to be open to all that and just adjust.
Yeah.
Um,
And what do you think about having too many goals? Do you find that makes you too scatty all over the place?
It does. And I think that's why in the first process, when you start when you start outlining all your goals, it's okay to have everything there. But you really have to take a step back and say, well, what's important right now? You can
Hmm.
always come back to the other goals, but
Yeah.
focus on what's important in the current moment. Again, with entrepreneurship, that changes.
Yeah.
The beginning of your business, you're really trying to define your business. You're
Yeah.
trying to do all the technical sides of your business, which is, understanding, do you have to be sole proprietor? Do you have to incorporate? So it's going to change. What's important is going to change. Don't lose track of the other ones. Have them somewhere written, but focus on what's important now.
Yeah. Especially when you're wearing a lot of different hats. And sometimes, you'll hit a goal that is harder to achieve than another goal. So it might take you twice as long. But as you say, if
Absolutely.
you just keep the other ones visually there, then you can go back to them once you've finished the one that, is the most important. And then you move on to the other one.
Absolutely. And I would even break it down to have something where you're tracking
Yeah.
yourself, right? So that helps with accountability. So
Yeah.
I created a scorecard. I had all of my goals and I had a metric that I was measuring to, and I have a scorecard that goes by month so that I'm
Hmm.
able to track it and I'm able to stay accountable to myself and celebrate when I did do it and
Yeah.
achieve it.
Hmm.
And give myself grace when I don't, but understand why I did tonight and what had to change. What did I
Yeah.
have to change in what I'm doing to make it so that I succeed? But I think that's really important. Another thing that we also have to do when we talk about the work-life balance is incorporate, the breaks and the self, like the personal stuff into it. Like my goals included, because it was important for me to be present for my family. So I measure how many weekends or nights I'm not with my family because I'm working. Because if I start to see that and it shows that I'm missing out on a lot, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not meeting my why. So
Right.
incorporate that into it. If you also have a goal of, wanting to work out more, set
Hmm.
up a metric for that and incorporate that into your goal setting and also into your schedule. It helps to just keep everything together, help work towards the work-life balance, and helps you stay accountable.
Yeah, so we talked about the importance of self-care for productivity. So, what self-care practices do you suggest to recharge and stay motivated?
Like I just said, scheduling it. It's
Hmm.
really important for you to schedule it into your everyday. Um,
Hmm.
that's the biggest thing. You also have to understand, what does it look like for you? Again, it's something that's individual per person. I like to run, I like to go do strength and conditioning. That's what exercise means to me. I love nature. That's where my zen, my peace comes from. So you have to understand, like, what are those things that are important to you? What are your
Hmm.
hobbies? Make time for those. Um, and like it could even just be you want to read books. Okay, schedule that. Schedule that,
Hmm.
from this time you're going to take a break from everything and you're going to read a book. Um, but it's just a one. It's important to know what are those things that fill you, that
Yeah.
give you that balance and give you that peace and help you release stress.
Yeah.
And then how do you make it so it's sustainable? So put it into your schedule be consistent with it, almost create a habit out of it so that you're doing it continually.
Yeah, because that fuels the energy that you will have for your business. If you take care of yourself, as you say, fill up that personal side, that personal cup. If you fill that up, then
Absolutely.
you're going to have more energy for your business. And if you don't take care of your personal stuff, you're going to burn out really fast.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so, so important. And even, if you're into journaling,
Hmm.
um, I find that, gratitude journaling is
Yeah.
so great. I start my mornings by writing down my praises, my prayers, and I am statements. Um,
Hmm.
being in this journey, it's hard. You feel alone, right? There's not
Yeah.
anybody sitting next to me saying you're doing a great
That's right.
job.
That's
So
right.
you have to take it upon yourself to remind yourself that you are, and
Yeah.
that's why for me, every morning it's important for me to say, I am capable, I am
Yeah.
strong, I am
Yeah.
smart. Um,
And yeah. And taking care of yourself gives you the self motivation um, for and energy for your business. So you have to manage it properly, both personally and business wise.
absolutely.
So with today's technology, there's a definite range of things to help with productivity. So what do you suggest for tools and apps for those?
Yeah, there are so many. If you Google it, I mean, so many things will come up. For me, the biggest thing is that I like things that are simple.
Yeah,
I don't want something that's going to create more work for me. And the other thing, and this goes back to a lot of concepts, it has to be what works for your situation.
yeah,
So what's going to work best for you? When it comes to task management apps, you could do a to-do simple thing as having a to-do list, but sometimes I find that I end up with a post-it to-do list, a notebook to-do list, an electronic to-do list. So there are apps, and the one that I use is Trello that
yeah,
helps you kind of gather everything into one. And I like it because you can create different boards of different sections, and that's how I prioritize them. So I have my tasks that I'm going to do today, the ones that I have to do tomorrow. I have my first board, which is everything, so I don't forget it. And then things that, could be like 5 days from now. And I use that for my business, but I also use it for when I'm consulting. That's the same tool that I use to help me stay on top of my
yeah.
task.
For those that aren't familiar with that app, it's spelled Trello.
And it's great because you can have it
Mhm,
web-based and it's also on your phone. So it's
mhm,
always with you and it's simple.
mhm.
You can pay for uh, there's prices for different things, but the free version is great.
Yeah,
So definitely a good app. Another thing is note taking. So there are apps out there like Evernote that help you with note taking, and OneNote, which is Microsoft based. So like again, you can have everything in one place. I I use Google Drive for a lot, and I just keep my notes within a Google Doc depending on the theme that it's about, right? So I have a
mhm.
folder for, say, if it's a one-on-one client, and I have a folder for them, and I just keep all my notes within a Google Drive there. So that's, again, for me, that's simple. I do, though, when I do take any notes, I do transfer my notes from paper into electronic. So again, I can have it in my computer under the folder that relates to that topic or that task.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
a great fan of Google Drive. It's good for collaboration with other people as well.
It is, and it's just, folder organization is something that we don't, talk about enough, but that's so important. How much time do we spend
Hmm.
sometimes looking for things?
Hmm.
And Google Drive gives you that ability to not only search, but you can just organize everything so nicely. You can
Yeah,
color code things. So it's definitely a great, great tool to use. Um,
yeah,
Another one where I started struggling with when I started my business was calendars. I found myself having so many different calendars. I had my Google Calendar, but within Google, I had my personal, I had my family calendar, the one with just my husband and I. And then I had Microsoft Calendar. So whenever I had to plan something, I had to keep looking from one to the other. So I use one calendar, which links all of them together. And I'm sure there's other ones out there, but it works out just perfect for me. It's all color coded. I can schedule it within one calendar and it links it to Outlook or Gmail. So that's definitely one thing that helps me not have to look in a lot of different places. Um, And then I think we couldn't talk about tools if we didn't talk about AI, since it's so hot right now. Um, it is definitely something that can help you with your productivity daily. I mean, even if you go in and you prompt it to give you how to schedule your day, and you give them an idea of what your day is like and what's important, it'll lay it out for you.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so it does a lot of the work.
Yeah.
I find that the way that I've used it the most for running my business has been for those things that I feel so stuck on. Say I have to write a proposal and I've never written a proposal, and I could spend hours Googling what do proposals look like. Um, you can go on there and just say, I'm writing a proposal for this type of situation, and it gives you an example. So again, when you're looking at your task and you're seeing those tasks that might be to delegate, try doing some of those, or tasks that feel really hard for us. Try putting some of those on ChatGPT and
Yeah.
seeing if there's a way that it can help you. My biggest strength isn't writing, so I use ChatGPT just to give me an idea
Hmm.
of what it should look like. But it's definitely becoming a great productivity tool for a lot of people.
Yeah, I use it quite a bit myself for social media clients because you can't be an expert on everything. So you could
Exactly.
ask it to write a short Instagram post on a certain subject, and the audience is X.
Mhm.
It could be realtors, or it could be the homeowner, or it could be interior designers, whatever it is. So if you give Chat GPT the right parameters, then it's amazing what it will come up with.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think we're all getting used to it, right? And so
Yeah,
I make sure to put my own spin into everything. It's
exactly. That's
it's
what
like
I do.
anything, it's grabbing. It's just like if we were Googling, it's
Yeah,
it's it's grabbing from everywhere. So you always got to check your sources a little bit, but and
yeah,
I always put my spin to it. I don't feel
yeah,
comfortable just taking it
exactly.
for what it is, but
Exactly.
it's definitely a great place to start if you're really feeling stuck.
Yeah, that's a very, very great tool. So thank you, Maria. That's been a great conversation talking about productivity and what it really means. And I understand you have a special offer for our listeners today. If you could explain what that is.
Absolutely. So I am offering 20% off my individual one-on-one coaching package, which includes a free discovery call. It's 6 1-hour sessions. And that'll also include my, any documentation or, my support through email whenever you need it. So to get on that, you have to use the code FABFEM, and you can email me at Maria at mariavicenz.com, or you can even look at the information on my website at mariavicenz.com.
Well, that's perfect, Maria. We'll have all that information in our show notes, and a link to the show notes, both in the audio and the video versions of this podcast. So thank you once again for being such a great guest today, Maria. And it's been an interesting conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, me too. So take care.
All right. Thank you. Take care.